You walk into the living room, and there it is, a shredded pillow, a scavenged trash can, or a pair of shoes that didn't deserve their fate. And right next to the crime scene is your dog. Their ears are pinned back, their eyes are averted, and they're doing that slow rhythmic tail wag that looks like a plea for mercy. In that moment, you don't see an animal. You see a guilty conscience. You see someone who knows exactly what they did, felt the weight of the law, and is now begging for a reduced sentence. But behavioral science has a cold, hard truth for you. Your dog isn't sorry. In 2009, Dr. Alexandra Horowitz, a cognitive scientist at Barnard College, conducted a study that fundamentally changed how we view the guilty look. She didn't just watch dogs. She manipulated their reality. She had owners forbid their dogs from eating a treat and then leave the room. In some cases, the researchers gave the dog the treat. In others, they took it away. But here was the twist. When the owners returned, they were told either that their dog had been good or bad, regardless of what actually happened. The results were startling. The dogs showed the most guilty behaviors not when they had actually eaten the treat, but when the owner scolded them. Even the dogs who did absolutely nothing wrong looked guilty if their owner thought they were guilty. This proves that the guilty look isn't a reflection of a dog's past actions. It is a real-time reaction to your body language. So, if it's not guilt, what is it? To understand the flattened ears and the tucked tail, we have to look back 15,000 years to the wolf packs that preceded our couch companions. In a pack, conflict is expensive. If a lower-ranking wolf upsets a dominant one, they don't want to fight. They want survival. They perform what biologists call appeasement behaviors. By making themselves look smaller, avoiding eye contact, and tucking their tail, effectively guarding their most vulnerable parts, they are saying, "I am not a threat. Please don't hurt me." When you stand over your dog with a hand on your hip and a stern voice, you aren't an owner to their lizard brain. You are a high-ranking pack member displaying aggression. Their guilty look is a biological survival mechanism designed to escalate your anger before it turns into a physical conflict. The reason we are so convinced our dogs feel shame is due to a psychological phenomenon called anthropomorphism, our innate tendency to project human emotions onto non-human things. Humans are obsessed with morality. We live in a world of right and wrong. When we see a dog mimicking the physical cues of a shameful human's slumped shoulders, downward gaze, our brains automatically fill in the blanks. We want them to feel guilty because it means they understand our rules. But dogs live in the immediate present. To a dog, there is the delicious trash, the past, and the angry human, the present. Their brain doesn't necessarily link the two unless the correction happens at the exact second of the act. By the time you get home, the trash is a memory. Your anger is the only reality. Neurologically, there is a massive difference between primary and secondary emotions. Primary emotions, fear, joy, anger, surprise, are hardwired into the limbic system of almost all mammals. Your dog absolutely feels these. Guilt and shame, however, are secondary emotions. They require a sophisticated level of self-awareness and an understanding of abstract social norms. You have to be able to think, "I know that I shouldn't have done that." While some researchers argue that dogs might possess a protoform of these emotions, the current consensus in canine science is that their guilt is actually a highly tuned fear of scolding response. They are masters at reading our microexpressions, often knowing we're upset before we even open our mouths. Why does this distinction matter? Because treating a dog like they feel guilty can actually damage your relationship. If you believe your dog knows they did wrong and still did it, you view them as spiteful or stubborn. You might punish them harder because you think they're being defiant. But if you realize they are actually just terrified and confused by your reaction, your approach changes from punishment to prevention. When you see that look, they aren't asking for forgiveness for the shoe they ate 3 hours ago. They are asking for safety right now. If it's not guilt, then what are we actually looking at? To understand the guilty look, we have to look at the anatomy of canine fear. When your dog bows their head and you see the whites of their eyes, a phenomenon trainers call whale eye, they aren't showing shame. They are scanning their environment for an exit while keeping their head lowered in a submissive posture. Notice the tongue flick, that rapid blink, and you'll miss it lick of the nose. That's a calming signal. In the canine world, This is a sophisticated tool used to soothe an aggressor. When your dog licks their nose as you point at a broken vase, they aren't saying, "I am sorry I broke it." They are saying, "I can see you are escalating, and I am trying to de-escalate you." They are literally trying to lower your blood pressure because your anger feels like a physical threat to their survival. The MRI reveal what's happening inside the brain. Recent advancements in canine neuroscience have allowed researchers to put dogs in awake MRI machines to see which parts of their brains light up in response to human emotions. When a human feels guilt, the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for complex social thought, is highly active in dogs. When they are faced with an angry owner, the primary area that ignites is the amygdala. This is the brain's alarm system, the center for processing fear and anxiety. There is almost no activity in the higher-order processing centers that would be required to ruminate on a past mistake. To a dog, the past is a foreign country. Their neurological hardware is designed for the now. While they have incredible associative memory, linking the sound of a leash to a walk, they lack the autonoetic consciousness required to look back at a chewed rug and feel a moral pang of conscience. They don't have a moral compass. They have an emotional barometer that is perfectly tuned to you. The injustice of bad dog. There is a heartbreaking side to this science. Because we believe dogs feel guilt, we often punish them long after the crime has been committed. Imagine being yelled at in a language you don't understand, for a reason you can't remember, by the person you love most in the world. That is what a dog experiences when you come home to a mess made 3 hours ago and start scolding, because the dog is performing those guilty appeasement behaviors. The owner thinks, "See, he knows what he did." This creates a toxic feedback loop. The owner gets angrier because they think the dog is being defiant, and the dog becomes more terrified because their person is acting unpredictably. Over time, this doesn't teach a dog not to chew the sofa. It teaches them that your arrival home is a source of danger. It erodes the very foundation of the secure attachment we discussed earlier. The proto-emotions. Could we be wrong? Now, science is rarely black and white. While the guilty look is proven to be a reaction to us, some ethologists suggest dogs might feel a proto-guilt, a very basic realization that a social rule has been broken. Think of it like a social friction. Dogs are hyper, social animals. They might not understand morality, but they certainly understand expectation. If you always feed them at 5 p.m. and you don't, they feel the friction of a broken expectation. Similarly, if they've been trained that the trash is off limits, they might feel a sense of impending conflict when they see the trash on the floor. It's not a moral, "I have sinned." It's a situational. This state of the room usually leads to a scary human. It's a subtle distinction, but it's the difference between a dog having a conscience and a dog being a world-class observer of human patterns. Conclusion: the mirror on the leash. So the next time you find a gift on the carpet and your dog looks like they're ready to testify in court, take a breath. That look isn't a confession. It's a mirror. Your dog is reflecting your frustration, your stance, and your tone back at you with 15,000 years of evolutionary precision. They aren't asking for a lawyer. They're asking for their friend back. When we strip away our human need for them to feel sorry, we find something much more profound, an animal so attuned to our emotions that they will physically shrink themselves just to make us feel better. Your dog doesn't need to feel shame to be a good dog. They just need to know that, even when the trash is on the floor, they are safe with you. Because in their world, you aren't just the judge and jury, you are their entire world.